welcome along, welcome along. I am going to choose the top 10 armies of the Imperial periods. If you check out my video from last week, we looked at the top 10 armies for classical. In my opinion, when you look at the Imperial periods and you compare it with other periods that we play in, this has got to be one of the more difficult periods to assess and to choose your top 10 armies, because in classical you've got quite a lot of pike armies, Romans, warband, Carthaginians. In Bronze Age, a lot of the armies are very similar, like chariots, massed bowmen. Dark Ages, a lot of the armies are very similar. But in the Imperial period, a lot of very different, diverse armies. You have horse archer armies, lancer armies, warband. Infantry takes a bit of a back seat. Some of the Roman legionaries get in there, and massed bowmen get in there. So all sorts. And I'm sure you've got your favourites, and so I'm expecting in the comments some disagreement, which is absolutely fine. You tell me what you think should be in the top 10. But anyway, let's get cracking, and I am going to choose at number 10 the Khazar 568 AD list, horse archer army. This is a pretty awesome list. I can see this season in the league, I haven't actually looked at the records. I might mention later on, maybe at the end of the video, but quite a few players have taken Khazar army out. Let's see how they do. But when you've got about, in my build anyway, 17 horse archer units, backed up by 6 light horse archers and some noble lancers, armoured noble lancers, probably I would take out maybe an infantry unit or some light horse and add another of the armoured noble lancers. We need a few more, maybe 5 at least, 6 perhaps. But this is going to be a hard army to manage when you've got so many horse archers running around the battlefield, firing away at you, backed up by massed archers, backed up by armoured noble lancers. It's not going to be easy. Now, why is it at number 10? Well, it is quite hard, especially for a new player, inexperienced players. How do you use these nomad horse archers? I actually did a video recently on Saka and how to use and fight against horse archer armies, so you can check that video out if you want to. But it is hard to use them correctly. You have to focus your fire. It's no good just firing away haphazardly. You've got to go in and go 1, 2, 3. You usually need at least 3 units, concerted fire, to get that cohesion test, especially at the beginning of a game. Sometimes you can do it in 2, but often you need 3 units. So it's all about maneuvering, the art of maneuvering, how to keep them evading, make sure they don't get caught, and look for flanks as well, because that's another little bonus. Whereas these guys are light horse archers, these are full bona fide cavalry, so they can get flanks, which is also very handy. You have got a few other armies like the Indo-Parthian and Indo-Scythian Hunnic armies, but for example, the Hunnic lists, some of those units are very expensive. They've got the fierce horse archers, which I don't like, because I don't want to pay 44 for light horse archers. Even nomad light horse archers are 36. So I prefer the cheaper end light horse archers. But anyway, when you've got a good unit like nomad horse archers, that's fine. But this has got a nice balance. So your light horse isn't too expensive. You've got access to some armoured noble lancers. You've got access to massed archers. So if there's rough ground, you can take that rough ground and kind of funnel the enemy around you and take them all over the place with your nomad horse archers. Or if you don't want massed archers, that's fine as well, because look, I've still got space to just add a couple more nomad horse archers and more armoured noble lancers. Some of you might do that. It depends on the map as well. So it's a little bit of flexibility there. So yes, I do think this is quite a dangerous list, and it deserves to be in the top 10, and in it goes at number 10. At number 9, we are going with the Axumite 100 AD list with Beja 250 AD allies. This really highlights the beauty of playing in Imperial. Very unique army, kind of a warband army. We've got these Axumite foot, essentially warriors or warband, but then we've got some veteran impact foot as well to back us up, elephants to back us up, and quite a lot of massed archers. So you don't really see this in many lists, this kind of setup. Impact foot, veteran impact foot, elephants, camels, massed archers, and a fair amount of skirmishers as well. So quite nice, quite nice. I did fight against this army. It is quite difficult because these guys, these veteran impact foot, they're quite hard to play against because sometimes they can either disrupt units on impact or just hold for quite some time. Elephants sometimes are quite hard to manage depending on the troops at your disposal. Probably I will say that elephants are maybe more effective, especially against infantry, because the infantry in Imperial are not as strong as in Classical. Less legionaries, almost no pikes, which are great as a counter for elephants. Quite a lot of swordsmen that just disrupt and fragment against elephants. So probably elephants are a little bit more difficult to manage. So if you've got access to them, like some of those Persian lists and Indian lists, elephants can be really good in Imperial. So that's a nice addition. Camels also are a nice addition. They're cheap. These are the spearmen option. It would be nice if they were bow, but still they're cheap, and they got a little bit of a bonus against normal cavalry. So when they're only 34, that is quite nice. So yes, overall, quite hard to play against this army. All the infantry is impact foot. Elephants, some of you might want to take more of skirmishers out. I've sort of taken minimum. You can take another 5 light archers if you want to. Maybe if you don't want the cavalry, maybe you could add some light archers instead. Not so much flexibility. I suppose if you didn't want massed archers, there's a little bit of flexibility in that we've still got plenty of space for adding more infantry. So there is that. That's the main, I suppose, thing you could juggle around. Take out massed archers and add more infantry. So if you're a player who likes infantry, you can do that. But I think overall, when you look at the composition of the army, you look at the quality of the infantry in Imperial, not as good as Classical. Impact foot, elephants, massed archers, it's a good combo. So yes, I think deservedly it should go in at number 9. At number 8, we're going with the Indian 320 AD list. I notice Indian armies are becoming a bit more popular lately in the league. They are a little bit tricky to use because you've just got basically one type of infantry unit that's not very good, just medium foot, protected. Then you've got massed archers. You haven't got a lot of lights. And then you've got a ton of elephants, not many lancers, some light chariots, which are quite nice, the bow kind, so that they'll cause a few issues, a little bit of cavalry. So a little bit tricky. We don't have proper infantry, we don't have access to a lot of cavalry. It's the more expensive lancers, the cheaper cavalry. 32 is not a bad price though. And we've got hardly any light cavalry. But I think when you look at the number of massed archers, and I haven't even maxed, I've got 14. It's quite hard when you're juggling the points. I've still got 14 points over. It's quite hard to use up all your points, so you've got to take out a few units, add. There's not a lot of flexibility in terms of what you can do when you get down to the final few points. I probably wouldn't take quite as many elephants. I've got 8 here. Probably go for 5 or 6, and then maybe add some massed bowmen, perhaps, or a chariot. But quite dangerous to play, because when you have got so many elephants, in the previous video I said that elephants are probably more effective in the Imperial period because of the infantry they're fighting against. And so when you've got so many, yes, you might be able to disrupt 1 or 2 before impact, but I'm pretty sure some of these elephants are going to go full whack into your infantry line or into your lancers and cause problems. Coupled with all of these massed archers, they're probably going to disrupt things, and then that's ideal for elephants, especially against spearmen. So quite a dangerous army. Quite a dangerous army. You're fighting so many massed archers. You've got hardly any armoured units in the Imperial period, so some of your troops are going to get disrupted, and then the clever Indian player will charge in with the elephants. So I think it deserves to be in the top 10. We don't have a lot of light foot, but then when you've got so many massed archers, that's not such a big issue. I would probably take both of them out just to run into some other lights, otherwise you're wasting your ammo on firing at the enemy lights, so I would take these guys out. I'd also probably would, when we've got sort of a lot of our units maxed out or nearly maxed, with the way the points are, I would take some light artillery. Might even take heavy art as well. Sometimes that can be effective when you've got so many massed archers firing away. When you fire with your light art, gives you an extra chance basically to disrupt something. So I think with this particular list, I would be more inclined to take at least one, if not both, of these artillery units out. Let me know if you've taken this army out. Let me know if you played against it. But I think it justifiably goes in at number 8. At number 7, we've got the Bosporan 11 AD list with Roman 24 BC allies. The very epitome of balance when we look at this army. We've got some infantry backed up by a good number of lancers, a nice number of light horse, and nice selection of skirmishers. Very, very balanced. If we have a look at the infantry, got a couple of Roman legionaries, some of the best units in the game. Also, the imitation legionaries and mediocre legionaries. As you know, I like them because they're heavy foot, impact foot. The mediocre legionaries are armoured, imitation, some armour. Very cost effective, great value, so they'll help us along. As well as the noble lancers. Not all lists get noble lancers. Some of them just go to the more expensive armoured noble lancers. So superior quality lancers at 48 is a bargain. So that will help us take out a few more units of lancers. They'll help us along. And we have got a nice number of light horse. A lot of lists you don't get so many, but with the nomad light horse archers and javelin horse and the standard light horse archers, we've got about 6 units here. So that will help us soften up the enemy. A lot of infantry in this period is protected, and then we can charge in with our lancers. So quite a nice list. This list reminds me very much of a Carthaginian list, because with the Carthaginians, as I've said in my video in the classical period, you don't just win with your infantry or your cav. You have to use all arms of the army cohesively and collectively. Use them together. So infantry can hold the enemy in place, then your lancers go in, your light horse softens up the enemy, and maybe you take extra number of skirmishers as well to help harass and soften up the enemy. So when you use all these different parts of the army together, you can do very well. And actually, if you are a fairly new player going into the league, this kind of army is, I would say, kind of a safe bet. Because if we look at the couple of armies just before this in my list, we had the Indians. They had, in that list, I took out about 8 elephants. But then the close fighters, that's my only infantry option for that list. It's a very average unit that can easily break. Elephants as well, hard to use. The Axumite list had elephants, had warband, which sometimes can be a bit iffy, as well as massed archers, which are also sometimes quite hard to use. Whereas with this list, we've got some fairly decent infantry, good superior quality lancers, nice amount of light horse, as well as your skirmishers. You learn a lot, actually. This kind of list is good for new players to learn how to use the different parts of an army. How do you use light horse? How does that help you set up your charges for your lancers? How does impact foot work? How can you effectively use skirmishers? Because with some lists, you get just 1 or 2 light horse. You don't get this amount of lancers. So it's a good option, I think. If you're going into Imperial, this kind of list, I'd recommend over the other armies that we've had a look at. Okay, so this is going in at number 7. At number 6, we've finally got a Roman army on the list, and this is the Roman 425 AD army with Frankish 260 AD allies. There are a number of allies you can take out for this army. Probably the main alternative is the Arab 300 AD list, because they have some nice cavalry options. But if you want to go down the warband route, especially to take out 2 superior warband units, then I'd probably go this way. And as I keep saying, infantry is not that strong in the Imperial period, so these 2 units could be worth their weight in gold. They can do a lot of damage, so probably this is the way I'd go. And they're backed up by some nice cavalry units. We've got noble lancers, and we've got noble cavalry. Both kinds of units are superior quality, so that gives us a bit of a bonus and good backup there. We've got a decent amount of light cavalry, and I would actually, if I had the option, I would take out more light infantry, because whatever we say about warbands, it's brittle, uncontrollable, bit hit or miss. 55 is a pretty good price, so you're saving quite a lot of points there on your infantry, generally speaking. So I would take extra out. So I've maxed here. I've got 8 skirmishers. If I had the option, I'd take more, but we've got a decent amount of light cavalry to help us out, so they can chase down some enemy skirmishers or flank, cause havoc. So a fair amount. It's a fair amount of light skirmishers and the light cavalry. Other units, we've got the Legio Comitatensis, not bad, and the best thing about it is heavy foot, some armor, and it only costs 48. So again, we're saving points on our infantry here, and so we can spend it elsewhere. Fairly balanced army. Flexibility, not too bad. If you wanted to maybe replace some warband with cavalry, you can do it, although it's generally the more expensive. We've taken all the cheap options. I do like armoured horse archers. I wouldn't just take one out, I'd take two if I were going to take them out. So, yes, I'd probably maybe replace some of the warband with maybe armoured horse archers, depending on the army and the map that I was playing on. So, and I also like expert armoured horse archers. So there's a little bit of flexibility there, a little bit. But we have maxed out on the lights, the foots. So, yes, you could maybe add a few more warband, and there's options here as well. With the medium foot is superior quality. So this is a pretty decent unit. This unit can usually hold for quite a while. It's good against cavalry, and because of its quality, it can usually hold more expensive units in place. So actually, I might add one or two more of these. They're actually pretty decent. So I'd probably add one or two, and we've got options for two more. So decent army, and I think it just about deserves to go in at number 6. At number 5, we're going for the Germanic horse tribes, 260 AD with Dacian 107 AD allies. And look at this wonderful map. Great looking mountains. Now there is a debate for allies. There aren't many options, but one option would be the Germanic foot tribes, which give you superior warband. Normally I'd go that way. However, if you take Germanic foot tribes, you would only have heavy foot. You wouldn't have any medium foot. So it is quite nice to have some loose order units and medium foot units. Just gives you more flexibility if you have to go into woodland, attack on rough ground, etc. And we've still got 5 close order warband, and this is still picked warband, even though it's loose order, still superior quality impact foot. So probably for that little bit more flexibility, I take the Dacians, and anyway, it really rests on your lancers. This is the main hammer aspect to your army, so we're really relying on these noble lancers to win us the game. The warband a more supporting role, I think. So I'd be more inclined to go with the Dacians. This is a pretty good list, and we've got a nice selection of Lightfoot. I know some of you want to take more out, and look at that. We can take quite a lot more. So maybe you don't want quite as many warband, add more Lightfoot. It's quite possible. These noble lancers are a great price, only 48, but they're superior quality. And we've got a ton of them. They'll cause a lot of damage on the battlefield, and all of this, or almost all of this infantry, is impact foot. And these Folksmen, even though they're not impact foot, they are superior quality. Now, when I've played against them or used them, because of their quality, they tend to hang around and just do quite well on the battlefield. So they're a great price at 48. So overall, this is a pretty decent army. Dangerous, lancers, impact foot, a load of lights, so in every aspect, some strength, because some armies you don't get as many lights, so you can outnumber your opponent that way. You can usually outnumber your opponent on the cavalry as well, and as I've always said, a lot of the infantry in the Imperial period is not that strong, so these warband will quite often smash into enemy units and disrupt them. So yes, I think this justifiably goes in at number 5. At number 4, we've got the ancient British 60 BC to 80 AD list with Roman 24 BC allies. On reflection, after having had a look at some of the armies just before this, maybe this isn't number 4. Maybe this would be more like 5 or 6 on my list. And perhaps the Germanic horse tribes are slightly better. But there are some good plus points about this army. Nice amount of Lightfoot. Also,
good selection of slingers. You don't often see that. So up to 8 slingers, so that saves us a few points instead of taking loads of archers out. Like you would have the option for most other armies. We've got light javelin horse. Again, a nice amount of light javelin horse, plus, light horse archers. And really, I think if you took this army out in the league, one of the defining factors as to how well you would do would be your use of light foot with the javelin horse in conjunction with the Celtic chariots. That's going to be how you're going to win, because you've got a load of chariots. They are superior quality. They can hold better cav in place for quite some time. Got a load of them with a couple of units of cav. So together with your light cav, together with your mass of light foot, I think this is a pretty well balanced army. And even the infantry, we've got 2 Roman legionaries, one of the best units in the game. We've got a picked warband. We've even got the mediocre Roman legionaries, who are actually a pretty good unit because it's heavy foot, impact foot, and armoured, together with some loose warbands. So a pretty nice army, really, very well balanced. So yes, pretty decent infantry, lots of options in terms of taking more light foot out or more warband out. And yeah, I think, especially in the hands of a decent player, they would be able to get the most out of this army, and it can be quite dangerous. Okay, so it's going in at number 4. At number 3, I'm going to go for the Byzantine 551 AD list with Arab 300 AD allies. I know some of you will know this army well from Tabletop World. Pretty decent army to use. Can be a little bit hard to manage because it's just all about the Lancers, really. They're going to be the ones that will help you win the game. I would take the Arab Bedu list out because they give you access to cheaper Lancers, because one of the main negatives of the Byzantine list in general is their units are quite expensive, like the veteran Byzantine Lancers, even Byzantine Lancers at 53, and then we've got more expensive armoured noble Lancers. Some of the infantry is expensive, some of the units like fierce nomad light horse archers expensive. So generally speaking, you've got to be careful with your points when you're using Byzantine lists. But that combination of Lancers, good amount of them, with decent infantry, we've got dismounted armoured noble Lancers and the dismounted noble Lancers. These units are superior quality spearmen, protected and armoured. They will hold. These units as well, not bad. The Legio Comitatensis 48, good price. So that nice mixture of having, we don't have a lot of light infantry, but probably enough. I can take another 3 if I need. I've got a mixed bow unit, 2 actually, so they'll help, because some of these Lancers are mixed bow as well, the Byzantine Lancers, 50% bow, so firing away with your light foot, your mixed bow, and then the Byzantine Lancers can do some damage. So concerted fire. Also, these camels have got bow as well, and I've also taken out some armoured horse archers. So there's a nice mix there of skirmishing, firing away at the enemy, charging in with your Lancers, holding with your decent infantry. So for the Imperial period, this is a pretty decent list. So I think justifiably we're going to put it in at number 3. At number 2, I'm going to go for the Persian Sassanid 591 AD list with Arab allies. This is a nicely balanced list. We've got elephants, we've got lancers, we've got horse archers, average infantry but backed up by some veteran impact foot, fair amount of light horse, and just enough in terms of the light foot, but we also have access to medium foot. Some of those lists we've been looking at, especially the warband armies, didn't have medium foot, so that's just a great addition. Gives us a little bit more flexibility if you want to claim some rough ground, go into woodland, whatever. We do have some medium foot. The Arab list does give us the cheaper lancers, because one negative is this is preset, so 4 units of expert armoured horse archers, 64. It's quite a lot of points, but they are pretty decent. Generally, if I'd got the chance, I'd take at least 2, so 4, not too bad. And when you look at the balance of the army, with the elephants, with the lancers, the infantry is not going to win you the game. These actually can be quite useful, and we've also got the armoured horse archers, which are not bad because they're only 50, so they can play an important role in weakening the enemy before your lancers and elephants go in. And also, those of you who like camels, good price at 46, the bow kind. Perhaps I'd take out 1 or 2 light infantry and the heavy foot and add a camel, or indeed add some massed archers. They're another unit that can be very useful in this kind of army in softening up the enemy. So probably I would do that. I'd take 1 or 2 units out here and add some massed archers. So there's a bit of flexibility. So overall, I think this should go in high on the list, going number 2, and the Arab as well. I mean, I haven't included them in the top 10, but I've got them as allies, but that list probably would be in my top 10 as well. But just to make it more interesting, I've included them here with the Persians as allies. Okay, let's see what I think is going to be the number 1. At number one, you've guessed it, it's got to be the Romans. This is the Roman 197 AD list. I haven't taken allies out because I want to maximize my Roman legionaries. And I've always said this is one of the best units in the game. And if you think they're pretty good in classical periods, in Imperial, they will smash through most infantry, if not all infantry. It is just a great unit, and they're also backed up by some pretty decent infantry in support. I mean, average armoured medium foot and the mediocre Roman legionaries that are pretty decent because they're average armoured impact foot, so they'll do well as well. So I've only taken 1 in this build, but generally I'd take a few more. Decent amount of cavalry, because okay, more cavalry in this period might be hard to chase them down, but we've got a fair amount of cavalry to help out. Not bad with the light horse as well, and okay, those of you that like the light infantry, yeah, we have only 6 max, so that is a negative. But when you look at the quality of your infantry and the amount of units that you can take out, I think overall that's how you're going to win anyway with these Roman legionaries, not so much with the light infantry or the light horse, or rely so much on the cavalry. They will be supporting your push. So yes, you do have to be a little bit clever for new players. In this period, when there's more horse archers and cavalry around, you've got to know how to protect your flanks. This army is pretty one-dimensional, not so flexible. So you've got to pick your ground, not get sucked into rough ground and woodland and running around all over the place, which is sometimes hard because sometimes like in this map, there are streams, there are woodland, there are rough ground everywhere. So I wouldn't say it's be the best list to take for new players, perhaps. Kind of depends on the map. If you've got a lot of open ground, then it can be useful as long as you're protecting the flanks, because these Roman legionaries will do the business. But other lists are more flexible. That is true.
But yeah, I think it's got to be up there. So I feel fairly comfortable in putting the Romans in at number one, although I'm sure a lot of you will have your own opinion on this and have different choices. So let me know in the comments below. It's been a bit of fun. It's been really difficult imperial periods. Let me know anything I've missed out. There are quite a lot of armies I'm sure that I may well have missed out on. So let me know what you think. And what shall we do next? Let's do Dark Ages. I think I'll go through that, and let's see if we can come up with a top 10 for the Dark Ages. Okay, if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe. I'm trying to get to 300 subscribers, so let's see if you can help me out there. Thanks a lot for watching. See you again soon.